It's early spring on the North Norfolk coast, and the mussel fishermen are busy on the foreshore of Brancaster Staithe. It's a winter ritual, grading and sorting the mussels on the hard before the tide once again engulfs the lays of shellfish. But 2 miles beyond the busy fishermen lies another more peaceful world, Scolt Head Island, the northernmost tip of Norfolk. For 35 summers and winters, the island has had as its guardian Bob Chestney, a Brancaster man. Every day of the year, and usually alone, he cheats the tides to visit his island. But Bob retires as warden this winter, and this is his story through the seasons of his final year.
Well, my first recollections as a child, of course, knowing that my father was the warden, I got to know quite well. I think I spent most of my summer down on Scolt Head when I really should have been at school. So my academic qualifications aren't probably as high as they should be. But nevertheless, I've got to know the island very well by doing what I'd done as a child.
Scolt is a new place, still evolving, a spit of sand, shingle and mud jutting out of the North Norfolk coast. Covering 2,000 acres between Hunstanton and Wells, Scolt receives the full blast of the North Sea storms. Constantly changing shape, it's a haven for birds and plants. It's one of Britain's oldest nature reserves and is leased to the Nature Conservancy Council. For Bob's island birds, a chance to share needed winter pickings with the Brancaster fishermen. These turnstones have an easy feed in the harbour.
Well, the reason why all the birds are here, of course, is that there's hundreds of mussels laying along here, and they've been sorted over by the fishermen. Most of them obviously go for sale, but left behind, of course, are these little ones, and mussels like this that have been broken by the rakes or the machinery, and as it lies there like that, of course, the birds come and feed on it. Assisted by the fishermen sometimes, who will open them up for them. But when you consider that these birds have probably come from 3,000 or 4,000 miles to winter in this particular area, and they have to go back again, and going back with a good supply of food inside them gives them a better chance, of course, of surviving and nesting early, which is really what it's all about.
Between the tides, Bob walks to work from harbour to island, and along the way finds a chance of refreshment from an unusual source.
Bob, you're not drinking that, surely?
That's 100% fresh. That really is. You ought to be here in the winter time when all the birds are drinking. They know that where all the fresh water is. And for example, this year, all this area was frozen except this spring. It's 100% fresh. If I know it, so do everything else. In the old days, they used to tap this source of water and have it in a tub and collect it with the tide out. I remember that. Man, that old, you know, as I said before. So you can see that we shall never die of thirst along this North Norfolk coast, because this is typical of the whole coastline. Thin layer of chalk bubbling through, and it's got all the good minerals in it as well.
Further on, during his long walk to the island, Bob can find something to eat as well as drink.
If I insert my finger in there, look, see him here, yeah, there's a beautiful cockle, and anybody want for the tea, yeah. Well, like the oyster, the cockle can be eaten raw, and equally good raw as they are cooked. And you insert the two hinges together and slowly apply the pressure and open them up. And here you have sort of the succulent meat, and yeah, good as an oyster, good as an oyster.
Bob Chestney's final stage from shore to island is by boat, carefully timed to meet the flood tide. It's nearly 2 miles from Brancaster Harbour to Scolt Head, and the shallow creeks fill with the flow of the flood and allow the boat to creep its way along Cocklebite Creek. A daily task for the warden, whatever the weather. Life on Scolt is governed by the tide, and it's something Bob Chestney has come to live with. The absence of human visitors in winter on this desolate coastline means nothing to nature's own story. The gales have left their mark upon the beach. The winter sea and the high spring tides complete the work of the storm. The jetsam and flotsam have their own tale to tell, and it's one that Bob can read.
This is another winter phenomenon. You can see that this has actually come from deep water. This tide line running along here is what was pushed up about a month ago in February on the biggest tides that we have, completely separated from the lower tide line, which I'll go and get a piece and so that's the winter washed up from the deep sea, but this is all off the marshes. So we have cedar aster, cedar lavender, one of the bladderwracks coming out of the harbour, and I can see fescue in there. So this is really all off the top of the high salt marsh, washed out of the harbour on the southerly gales. Makes a big difference. So that came up from the high salt marsh out of the harbour to be deposited on the beach. This one actually came out from sea. And walking along this one, you can in the winter time find sort of the odd crab, lobster, and sort of horse mussels. But it's got to be fairly rough to do that. And it can be along the coastline, I can assure you.
The duties of a warden's year are sometimes sadly marked. Winter storms leave casualties which must be accounted for.
Oh well, one of the winter's work is going along the beach and checking the shoreline for oil birds. This one is oiled, and that's why he's died. And so we don't count them twice, we just get hold of the right wing and break it and climb up above the tide line, and he goes on the list as one dead oil bird. So this is an international thing besides national, so we consider this most important to give you some idea what is dying actually out to sea.
The transition from gales to summer sun is sudden. The ragwort and the sea rocket are indigenous plants on the island. Marram grass has been introduced by man and is a relative newcomer to Scolt. It binds the island together. The coming of summer explains the reason for the island's solitude. On the westerly spit, the visiting terns prepare for their summer breeding, and this means the end of any attempt at a human invasion.
What we're looking at is terns, these in particular sandwich tern, and Scolt Head is one of the major nesting areas of this particular species. And being a summer visitor, they're only in Norfolk for a very short period of time. Arrive in April, nest to May and June, and by the middle of August, most of them were gone. The noise that you can hear in the background is individual birds arriving with fish, and this one coming in with a fish now. They're going down pinpointing their chick by their own individual voice, and they're coming in all days, you can hear. By the time the chick is about 30 days, depending on the food and one or another, so what we say is a single chick flies at 30 days and a pair of chicks fly at 33 days. So once they fly and been flying for about 10 days, then they can take The young ones out on this long haul, these are coming in now from Blakeney Overford, which is about 30 miles away, probably more than that. So once the chicks fly, they can take them out, feed them, and then bring them back. So it does save this 300 mile a day long haul. The sandwich turn over the last 30 years have increased from like 1,500 breeding pairs to this year. I would have thought there'd been about 4,000 pairs.
To breed successfully, nesting terns must be isolated, but it's they that attract visitors. This is always a warden's dilemma, and it's Bob's job to preserve the balance between people and birds.
How do you do? I'm one of the wardens. How can I help you at all? Don't be afraid to ask any questions. We're not frightened to say we don't know, so that's how we got it. I was brought up like a family business, and I think everybody knows now that the island is owned by the National Trust. It's not my island, although sometimes you get carried away in thinking that it is. Okay? So my father used to say, he didn't teach me anything. Well, you've got to know this and you've got to know that. He used to make it a game, and he always never knew anything. He said, well, what we got here? That's all he used to say. Well, I came home, I remember, I said to Mother, told Dad a bird he didn't know today. Well, that's how he conned me that's how we try and con the visitor today. Get them involved. You're telling them things as a game, and especially with the children. Doing what we do, you saw the nest as you came.
By the white post?
By the white post.
Yeah.
So the bulk are obviously out there, and if you go like, go like this, come on, big elephant, come on, let's see it, big elephant's ears, come on, turn around that way and have a listen. Come on, let's have a listen. Now that brings the sound up, doesn't it? Can you hear? No, take it. Right? So, hear that? Well, what it is, you probably should know that each bird has got its own individual voice, like our fingerprints. Now here's one with a fish, look, coming in now. See? Now, with a big sandy like that, he might give us a shout any time. Come on, don't let me down. Oh, up, come on, oh, up, come on. Hey, thank you. Now, he's pinpointing the chick on the end, and the chick is listening, and as soon as that adult hears the chick call, or the other way around, that's oi up, chunk.
Unbelievably, it's the summer of '85, hot and holiday-like. It's a quick boat trip at high tide to the sweltering dunes at Scolt's easterly end. It's a place of picnics and pleasure, isolated from the ternary 4 miles to the west.
It's just as important, I feel, as the other end of the island, or the westerly end, where we have been seeing the birds. But looking across to this area, as there are no birds there, it's an ideal area for recreation. Students still come down and look at the vegetation and things like that, but there's no pressure on the bird side here.
But all the summer visitors must go on the tide. The long evenings have time on their side. The vegetation is exposed by the receding waters, and the saltings can breathe again. In the Cocklebite, the tide catches up on Chestney's day. Before it's time to go, there's food to be raked from the harbour shallows.
Well, there's always something to do. No plan, there's always something to do. Either while you're waiting for the tide, that you can watch your birds, see what's happening, watch your holiday make. It's always, there's something to do all the time. I mean, half the time being a warden, you're spent by yourself. But then, of course, you've got people that you meet through the summertime. And if you've done a job a long time, you get the old customers coming back. And so there's a link between you and the outside world. But you mustn't talk about too much about the big wide world, because then I get a bit stumped. But apart from anything about local things, like the gulls that are up there, they're now on passage, resting to move out again. And they're not just gulls sitting there, they're doing a particular thing. So birds are really doing, and animals are doing a particular thing at a particular time. They're all geared to do this. So getting back to me cockling, of course, otherwise I'll start getting enough of myself, let alone the wife as well. I love to hear the wind going through the net, even in the palm here. If you end up fairly square, the better you put it on.
Sometimes with the flood and just before sundown, a chance to haul the whole. Like a biblical fisherman, Bob casts his net on the deep waters of the creek. He's looking for a guide to available food supplies for his beloved terns, and perhaps also something for his own supper.
Keep coming out of the water now. I think we've probably got somebody's oyster tray out there. That much in there. This is 1 or 2 white bait. That's all we wanted. We got what we out to do. Now all the fish are in the cod ends, you see. So what I'm going to do is to lift up. It's all sandy. We've got all what we want. Right. Little mullet. There we are. There's 2 objects of actually hauling the haul, as we say. One, to see what quantity of fish are available for the turn, and the other one is for ourselves, because we usually have a load of children here in the summertime, especially in August, all screaming, yelling, sorting the fish out. So we tell the children about what the terns are doing, what they're feeding on, and then we show them what the fish are in August time when they come back on holiday. And I think that's a very important role to play as far as educating the children, and it's tangible for them.
Late summer dusk, and Scolt can sleep. Bob's gone home with his fish. But while the terns are nesting, there's always an assistant warden on lonely guard in the island's central hut. After the short darkness of July, the dawn. 2 miles away at Brancaster Staithe, another day begins. Bob's last summer has been like the 35 before, in one thing at least, the pressures on his family life. Bob makes his arrangements and then is gone to his birds in the remoteness just 2 miles away.
Diesel. Wow. Yeah. I think Shakespeare, he said something about the waiting wives. I think they have to be very tolerant, because when I first started I was doing about 108 hours a week. And just to give you some idea how busy we were, I had, my first child was born in 1953, and that was a bad turn year. My second daughter was born in 1958, and that was also a bad turn year. And 5 years later, there was also another bad year, which was my youngest daughter. So you can see that, but you've got to have a bad year to get down to the nitty-gritty now and again.
But there is in this village one person who has spent all his life...
At Bob's old school in the neighbouring village, something else is coming to an end. The headmistress is retiring, the school is to be closed, and the pupils dispersed.
Bob Chestney. He spent nearly...
For a final summer treat, a trip to Scolt Head, for long so much a part of local life.
Yes, Bob came to the school. He started as a pupil in this school on May the 5th, 1930, and he left on the 21st of March, 1940, when he was just 14. In a few months' time, Bob, like me, is retiring. Someone else will carry on his work that he has done for over 40 years. This school is closing, so this is our last chance to go as our school to the island before we leave to start our lives in other schools in many different places. We will go today to wish him a happy retirement with his wife. Now we have some prayers.
Dear Lord, we thank you for all the work Bob Chestney has done, caring for flocks of visitors on Scolt Head. We ask that he and his wife may enjoy their retirement and that you will take care of them as they cared for your creatures. Amen.
Children, a day out on the island. But it's more than that. With Bob's retirement, a certain style of warden will go too. And there'll be no more village school for the new warden to forge a bond between the community and the island.
Hello! Okay. Oh, let me first of all, can I introduce myself? I'm the warden, and have been the warden of Scolt Head for 35 years, and I said this is my last year. Now, some people call me Mr. Chestney, but others call me Bob. Now, what do you got to call me? Bob. That's fair now. We know I've got more than one friend then, apparently. Yes, I have, haven't I? I've got to tell you this little tale. I think it's worth telling. I have a lot of children, and I said to these boys after I was finished with them, now then, you'll find at school an hour is 2 hours. Yeah? I said, but on Scolt Head, an hour is only a half an hour. They didn't really know what it meant, and so off they went. And this little boy came running back, and he said, you're right, Bob, you're right, Bob. He said, an hour is only half an hour on Scolt Head. Of course, I wish it happened at school. Right? Here we are. And what about that? Huh? They do like to be picked up, and we don't like picking them up. But that's just as a special occasion, I think they will be quite pleased for us to do this. How's that? Are we all here? Right? So I'm going to pick him up. Here we go. And look, you can see his little egg tooth, where he chips himself out. Hear his little voice, so Mum know who he is. You remember what I told you earlier on, don't you? And there's his little feet. He only wants to stand on his feet because he waits and calls, and Mum comes along with the fish, and that's gone. So he only wants his little web feet to stand on or just swim across the water if the tide comes in. Eh? And that one is just coming out, look. And that will be out tomorrow. So by tomorrow, they'll both have to go out to get fish to feed them. And we've seen birds carrying the fish, haven't we? Yeah. So shall we go back to the boat to let the bird come back onto the nest? Yeah. Right, off we go then. Right, so I'll go first so we don't tread on anything. Round we go. Round we go. I try not to get sentimental, I hope I don't anyway, but you do form an attachment. I think that Bob Chestney's is the last of a line. See, my father, Ted Eales, who's the one that was on Blakeney Point, and Bernard Bishop now, those three were pioneers. They started the whole job off. They had nobody to tell them, so they wanted more brawn than brain. Now today, perhaps you do want more brain than brawn because everything is running smoothly, and perhaps some people think that Scolt Head runs itself. It does, with a little, what I call, manipulating in the background. But that's taken many, many years. Oh yes, I should go back to Scolt, but I shan't go down there with the air of authority, because I don't think that would be right. I still continue my little fishing with the school children, haul on the hole, as we say, and just to see, from my interesting point of view, sort of the habitat changes, shingle ridge movements, because there's something happening there. If you went to Scolt for a day every month, you would find a change every day. People say Bob's Island, well, they've got to forget about that now, with somebody else's, but yeah, with all that long association, I shall lose one thing, and I think I shall sum up with this one, that last night when I went to bed, before I go to sleep, all I see is a row of faces, all agog. And sometimes when I'm talking to them, I'll burst out laughing because I hear myself talking. I don't know whether you know what that means. And they're all listening to what I'm saying, and occasionally you hear yourself talk, and I've got to stop talking. So I think that will be the first thing that won't come back. All the faces will be lost, all agog, waiting for me to say something. So I think I'll leave it at that.